Biz Dev with Cameron Toth. Biz D with C. This is Biz Dev Live. Thanks for joining me today. If you're hanging with me live, I'm so appreciative of you. If you're hanging with me later, I'm so appreciative of you. Thank you so much for joining me. We're going to talk today about building out job descriptions before you need them. What the importance of that is, how to actually build those out, how to write those job descriptions, and then how to hire around them when the time comes. We're going to get into the theme, and I will be right back with you.
Biz Dev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. Biz Dev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. Biz D with C, brought to you by Cameron T. Biz D with C, brought to you by Cameron T. This is business development, not even selling it. This is intelligent. If you watch it, I promise you benefit. Leadership and motivation, empathy and inspiration. Leadership and motivation, empathy and inspiration. Biz Dev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. Biz Dev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. Biz D with C, brought to you by Cameron T. Biz D with C, brought to you by Cameron T.
Yeah. So getting into it today, I want to talk about building out the job descriptions before you actually need them. So 9 years ago, I started up Toth Event Staffing, riding by the seat of my pants, not knowing the legal things that I needed to put in place for the company, just getting started, knowing I wanted to build my own thing, not be in corporate America, not beholden to 4 different managers who could all tell me to jump and I have to ask how high and all that jazz, right? Build my own schedule, be close to home, enjoy my children. At that time, I had 3 children at that point. So something that was really important to me, which is why I started Toth Event Staffing. But what I wish I knew 9 years ago, one of the biggest things is building out job descriptions or understanding how I was going to grow my company before it was successful and before we had the opportunity to hire people in the office, what the most important way for that would be. So reading the E-Myth this year by Michael Gruber, I came to understand some of the errors of my ways because I had developed really good job descriptions and a really good method for hiring waiters and bartenders and chefs. That's the main core competency of Toth Event Staffing. That's what Toth Event Staffing does. That's what we pride ourselves on. We're really good at hiring waiters, bartenders, and chefs, and even captains for event-related roles, for catering events, that sort of thing. So what we weren't good at, or what I wasn't good at, was hiring for other roles that we didn't have the same amount of experience with in terms of hiring, like a bookkeeper, like administrative person, HR of operations, that sort of thing. And I struggled finding somebody that was going to fit into the role the right way. So the way that I know now, if I had done it that way before, it would have made my life a lot easier. And how do I know this? Because I'm reading this book and I'm like, oh, yes, that's the challenge. That's the problem I had. So just to recount the story, to tell you why that it's effective, and hopefully this, for some of you that have some time in your business, I was hiring a bookkeeper and I didn't know all the things a bookkeeper needs to know. Now, that being said, when you start a company, you're doing everything. So I was doing my bookkeeping. I was doing the stuff. So I knew more than I gave myself credit for. But I was saying to myself, what do I know about bookkeeping? I'll just go online. I'll find a template of a bookkeeper job description, and that's how I'll advertise it out into the world. And so I did that. And then I'm going through my hiring process the same way basically I would go through for a waiter, bartender, chef. I'm phone screening, making sure that they have the experience and credentials of doing something similar. And I'm getting through a few of these phone conferences, and finally I get somebody who's a QuickBooks Pro. Now, doing my business every day, if you were hearing from my desk, you'd know, if you were in my business, that's what we utilize. We send invoices, we do all of our finance tracking, including for the credit card. Everything runs through QuickBooks. So I needed somebody that knew QuickBooks really well. So now I'm on the phone with somebody who's applying for this role, and they're a QuickBooks Pro, and the light bulb goes off, right? The light bulb goes off. I need a QuickBooks Pro. Now, whether you know QuickBooks Pro, which is a thing, exists or not, if I would have been writing my job description from day one, as I'm doing marketing, as I'm doing bookkeeping, as I'm doing office management, as I'm doing HR pieces, right? If I was keeping track of the things that I was doing in all of those sort of different sectors of my own business, when I put that job description ad out for a bookkeeper, there's no way that I would not have included the fact that you have to be super efficient at QuickBooks in order to take on this role. You have to. This is something that is a non-negotiable, which is something that you'll hear on the hiring process. So that's a great example of why it was really important for me. So for you, if you're doing a lot of your marketing, if all your marketing is on Instagram, for your marketing role, you're going to write out, need to have a good understanding of Instagram, having previous success with Instagram. What's your goal with that social media? Now, granted, in keeping your expectations realistic, can you afford somebody that, has 100,000 followers on Instagram? You may not get somebody that is the person that's going to necessarily take you to 100,000 if they don't have 100,000 themselves. But if somebody's using that platform, if they can show past success with another client, or they can show past success for themselves, getting, to a follower count much higher than what you're already working with, that's a good step in the right direction. So in writing out your job description, understanding, okay, for that marketing role, you need to be adept at TikTok or Instagram or LinkedIn and have some experience and have some things that you can talk about that you've actually done. And that is a great way to write that piece of the job description, because if you, the person that is hiring the candidate, have more experience in that role, a lot more experience in that role, and what you're actually going to be doing is training that person, that's an internship, that's not a job. Let me say that one more time. That's an internship, not a job. You're going to be hiring that person. And for some places, a paid apprenticeship is appropriate. Just make sure you know what you're getting into. If your piece of working with that person is a big training piece, then know that before you're getting into it. But otherwise, your job description should say, hey, you got to have this basic or this must have, this non-negotiable. And that's how you're going to write out your job description. These are the things that you must know how to do. This is the bottom line, no lower. That is the basic skill set, no less. That's how you're going to hire for that role. And in doing that, when you put that job out on Indeed or you put it out in your network, it really makes the hiring process a lot clearer. Do you have this experience? And there are going to be things that are just non-negotiable that are going to make that hiring process really easy. People apply to positions that they're not qualified for all the time. It's so much easier for you to deal with them if you've set a non-negotiable in that job description to say, sorry, that's just not something that we can hire without having that experience. Thank you so much. Please come back when you have that experience. That's the way I handle it anyways. So that's why it's really important. That's how you're going to write that job process. And then that hiring process is just making sure they're a good cultural fit. Okay, you got the non-negotiables. Now it's just about making sure that you're on the same wavelength and that you're 100% on board with the person that this person is that's coming into your organization, so that you can really feel comfortable about working with them and communicating and speaking with them, which is really through a nice hiring process where you're doing the pre-screen, you're doing the actual in-person or face-to-face interview, and understanding what they've actually done in the past and how they're going to be a good cultural fit for your company. I will definitely have some more videos on what defines a good cultural fit, but I'll say this just to be succinct and short timed here. You'll want somebody that is a good vibe and that has the same values, that respects the same values that you do. So if you really respect people's time, you're on time for appointments, you want somebody that is always early, and during that interview process, they're really great on the phone, they're really sociable, but they weren't on time for the interview, or they're a couple minutes late, that kind of thing. A couple minutes late is late. Those are things that you want to look at. Maybe that's not a good cultural fit. Maybe you give them another chance, explain to them exactly what you're looking for. But usually those first impressions are going to tell quite a bit. So let that guide you, let your gut guide you on that cultural fit piece. Understand what your non-negotiables are and walk into the job hiring process with eyes wide open. I hope this was helpful. I hope this aids you in building out your job descriptions for the company that you're trying to grow. Understand why it's important for you to build out those job descriptions before those positions actually exist. Obviously, you're doing all those roles, so they do exist. You just don't have different people in those roles yet. Be prepared for when you do, so that when the opportunity comes and the client comes that's willing to pay you, that you can scale quickly and efficiently and you can get the job done. This has been BizDev Live with Cameron Toth, BizD with C. Have a great day. I will see you tomorrow.
BizDev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. BizDev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. BizD with C, brought to you by Cameron T. BizD with C, brought to you by Cameron T. This is business development, not even selling it. This is intelligent. If you watch it, I promise you benefit. Leadership and motivation, empathy and inspiration. Leadership and motivation, empathy and inspiration. BizDev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. BizDev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. BizD with C, brought to you by Cameron T. BizD with C, brought to you by Cameron T.